Okay, so on today's video, we're going to look at something a little bit different than I would usually talk about, and that is dieting. Usually I focus on performance, I focus on um, different studies around performance or around practical kind of things or practical training tips, things like that. But look, this is something that needs to be talked about as well, and more often than not for a lot of people, dieting does come into improving their performance as well. So what I said was I'd do a different take on it, not go about the usual kind of topics when it comes to dieting and talk about something different. So in this, just before we start, as a bit of a preface, when I'm talking about dieting here, I'm going to assume that you are trying to follow the law of thermodynamics. So this includes being in a calorie deficit, expending more calories than you consume, consuming less calories than you expend, whatever way you want to spin it. This is going to assume that that is the goal. This may not get you that goal, but it may aid you toward it or get you a little bit beyond it if needs be. I will say all of this is pretty useless unless you're going to be tracking those things or monitoring those things. So the topic, dieting and using practical studies to succeed. There are a lot of tips given when dieting, so here are 4 that you may not have thought of. So the first is hydration. So staying well hydrated is important at the best of times, but it has been shown that sometimes your hunger is actually being masked as being dehydrated. In another study, so this is a separate point, in an interesting study shown by Dennis in 2010, it showed that water consumption increases weight loss during a hypocaloric diet intervention in middle-aged and older-aged adults. So hypocaloric meaning fewer calories, that they are trying to eat fewer calories. So the study had a control group that was drinking 500 mils of water prior to the studies, or the people within the studies, their 3 main meals. So they had their 3 main meals, they ate as normal, and the only thing was one group drank 500 mils of water right before each meal, another group didn't. So that was the main study, and this found that over 12 weeks it led to 44% greater weight loss than those who did not partake in the 500 mils of water prior to eating meals. So 2 kg was the average difference in the end of it. Now again, this study left a little bit to be declared. It didn't get super specific, but there's a lot of other studies that support this, and this was one of the most simple ones that I could just kind of put up on paper. There are a lot more other ones, and a lot of them have come toward the same conclusion. So maybe drinking a glass of water before dinner will help cap those cravings thereafter and aid you in your battle against overeating. The next one then is eat slowly. So this is an easy way to increase satiety, is to eat slowly, which I 100% do not adhere to and probably never will. I'm a fast eater. It's just something I do. But then again, weight loss has never really been a huge issue for me. So this study was held in 2008 by Andrada, and this is where he compared eating fast and eating slowly. So it was a really simple study. It was just eating fast had some interesting results, including increased hunger, decreased satiety, increased desire to eat thereafter, and this is even when they consumed more energy. So it even showed, let's say within, someone had 700 calories on their plate, and someone else had 900 calories on their plate. If that 900 calories was consumed quickly and the 700 calories was consumed slowly, it was finding that even though that person had consumed 900 calories, it still had increased hunger over time, decreased satiety, which means they weren't getting that feeling of being full, and it increased their desire to eat and crave thereafter. Whereas the people who ate slow and spread the meal out and chewed slowly and things like this, they were giving their body enough time to adapt to the food they were eating. They were giving their body enough time to realize that they need to digest this food. They weren't getting the cravings as much. They weren't increasing their hunger. They were full and they were content after meals. So the study just basically concluded that eating slower may help with satiety and reduce energy intake. Again, 15 minutes seems to be a minimum for main meals. So some people use a stopwatch. I personally wouldn't really be arsed, but it is a tip. If it's something you're struggling with, it might just help get you over the line. So be it a stopwatch or something you use, slow down the eating. The third one then is the size of your cutlery, which seems very practical and is, but it just is one of the more practical ideas, and it's something a lot of people in the older generation would do. They would fill their plate, be it with voluminous food, or they would use smaller plates or smaller dishes to make their meal look bigger. It's something they kind of instinctively did. So a study by Wozniak Wanzink, I think is how it's pronounced, I'm unsure, in 2006, it performed tests with ice cream. So this study showed us that even if a serving spoon was increased by 50% from 2 to 3 ounces in this study, participants ate 14.5% more ice cream than those using smaller spoons. And this was irrespective of the size of the bowl or the serving size. So you give someone 2 tubs of ice cream, you give someone a smaller spoon, someone a bigger spoon. A few things are going on here. So the bigger spoon means you will be eating it faster, for starters, bigger servings, and you can fit a hell of a lot more on it. So you're getting these bigger servings, you're eating it a little bit faster, and as a result, within less time, you're halfway down the tub. The person with the smaller spoon, it was taking them a little bit longer, and as a result, it slowed down the way they eat. So they also finish the meals faster, which feeds into the last topic of eating slower versus eating faster. This tip will help with eating slowly too, on top of the fact that you're more than likely going to eat less calories due to it. Now, there is an argument with this. This kind of thing would really only work where it's open season. So where maybe it is a tub of ice cream you're dealing with, or a tub of yogurt, or a tub of whatever, and you're using a small spoon. More than likely, if you're eating dinner and you're trying to lose weight and you're calculating your calories, it doesn't really fucking matter what size cutlery you're going to use, because in the long run of it, the calories are going to be the same. But it does feed into the last one of the smaller cutlery will force you to eat a little bit slower and help with satiety and things like that. So that's the reason I put this one in. Even though the study was done on tubs of ice creams or bowls of ice cream or whatever, if someone's on a weight loss journey, obviously they're going to be controlling their calories, and it won't really make a difference what cutlery they use. But if it helps you eat slower, it definitely helps. It is something to bear in mind for if you are ever going off track for a week or two, or you're trying to just maintain a bit of weight, or you want to take a diet break or something like that, but you don't want to blow the load on it. These little tips can help if you don't want to track calories, but you just want to, I suppose, get by for a few weeks. These little tricks definitely will help, and the size of your cutlery is a good one. The same goes for filling the plate or giving your plate the illusion of being full. So using a smaller plate that it's full up, it looks like it gives you the illusion that you've eaten a full plate, or high volume, lower calorie food. So again, let's say you have a plate and you only have a bit of veg, you have your meat and your carbs, let's just make it that simple, but there's a lot of space on the plate. Let's fill all that space with veg and lower calorie, high volume food. So that's another way of doing it. Again, that comes down to the size of the cutlery. Protein drink is the last one. So this is an interesting one as well. It's just something to think about. This study was done on whey protein specifically. I'm going to butcher this. Akavan. In 2010, she gave people a range of different protein amounts ranging from 10 to 40 grams before letting them enter a pizza buffet 30 minutes later. So before they got to enter sort of an all-you-can-eat or go in and eat as much as they wanted. So some groups had 10 grams, some had none, some had 20, 30, 40 grams. They tracked everyone. And the study showed that specifically the 40 gram groups consumed an average of 837 calories, whereas the control group with no protein ate 1142 calories on average. So the whey protein 30 minutes before a meal may reduce your caloric intake overall. And people are kind of thinking, oh, well, you know, their calories as well. Yes, but very few. So let's say you're having, I don't know, if you're mixing it with water and there's a few other little additives in there or whatever, let's just round it up to 100, one scoop of 30 grams or 40 grams. Let's just say 30 by 4 is 120 or 160 calories. You're somewhere around there, given the size of the scoop. That's how much it's going to be for your water. So even if you add that onto the calories of pizza that was eaten, you know, that's only going to bring it up to 950, 60 calories. It really doesn't add that much. So it's still less in the grand scheme of things. So on top of that, protein on water is low, but the protein is high. So mixing protein with water is low in calories, but your protein is higher. So this was something that I found worked well with a couple of clients if they were going out for a meal and they really wanted to watch their weight, but they wanted to go out and not do the dog on it at a buffet or something. Just have a protein shake 30 minutes before. It kind of helped with satiety, helped with the feeling of being full, as we know protein does. It's great for that. It helps you stay fuller for longer, and you won't get those mad cravings then when you do go out. And if you do, you probably won't be able to act upon them as easily because you will get fuller quicker. So that's an important point. There are 4 points that I would take on board if I was dieting. I like to kind of use different tricks like that. But then again, remember, none of this matters unless you're in a deficit or unless you're accounting for all of these modifications and making sure that you're adhering to that. So none of it matters if the goal is the weight loss and you are eating more calories than you need and implementing all these tips. None of it really matters. So 4 tips that you can use that aren't as predictable as most diet tips. And if you have any questions, you can catch me at Complex Fitness on Instagram. I'm not active on Facebook or anything else, just Instagram, or you can catch me here. Email is kjfarrellfitness@gmail.com. Thank you.